Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. It's episode 396 of me telling you that at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe Crazy Rider. How you doing today, Joe?
You know, one night a Viking named Rudolph the Red was looking out the window when he said, "It's going to rain." And his wife asked, "How do you know?" "Because Rudolph the Red knows rain, dear."
I need someone else on the show.
Well, maybe we got somebody. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there?
Well, yes, of course. I'm glad to be part of the show anytime you want.
I think we messed up.
What?
Reginald.
What? Yes, I heard you were looking for new readers.
Reginald.
Yes.
Could you please go in the other room and get the list of topics we're going to discuss?
Don't worry.
Oh, yes. I would love to.
Excuse me a second. Hey, we all know that Wolfie has a thing for Reginald.
I have a thing for everybody.
Well, secret guest host, please sign in and tell the audience who you are.
I am secretly Daniel Mohr, and I am here because I have a headset.
You were stupid enough to answer your Skype.
Yes. Yes, because we are here to talk about new comic stuff, and I like it.
Well, I sent out a list that Joe ignored. This is a list of books that Marvel is putting out called Marvel Selects.
Yes.
And these are the books that they say your comic shop should have for people who come in so that they have a starting point. And I thought we'd go over if these are good starting point books, what books are missing, and whatever else comes up. And I guess Joe will just be following along with our voices since he didn't read the list. Dan, you got the list, right?
Yes, actually, I did.
Okay.
Dan got the list. Oh, there it is. It's in my spam filter. You got spammed, Strode.
Sounds like a personal problem to me.
No, it's whatever you're putting in your emails. You got to clean your fingers before you touch the keyboard.
Hell no.
You know, while you do that, I'm going to read.
Nobody got time for that.
I'm going to read from the Dollar Shave Club. Why do hotels make you horny? That sounds much more interesting than another miss. The first thing is, Cory, you told me, what was the price point on these things?
They don't list the price point.
I thought you said it was like $12.99 or something. Or was that DC's version? That's
DC's version. DC has a young adult line that was just starting to come out that they've already killed.
Yep. So for me, I guess I could probably weigh in and just tell you, you know, like when I had my comic stores, if I think these would have helped or not. Because, I mean, I remember looking at the list thinking, this isn't going to help much. But, you know, we'll go through it. We'll see. I think that the litmus test will be Cory, if you want to describe the book, we'll see if it's enough to tempt young man Dan to actually plunk down some hard-earned cash and go home with it. Or not.
Or, you know, if he'd just steal it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we call that the library.
The first book they have on the list is Astonishing X-Men Volume 1, Gifted, which is the first part of the first trade paperback of the Joss Whedon run.
Oh.
By the maker of Firefly and Buffy?
Yes.
Okay, because that would be a draw right there. Where it's like if you put that up, because you might catch somebody's attention by, you know, trying to relate the two. If they can do it on the cover, great. If not, I would do it like in the bookstore. I mean, in my mythological shops.
Well, and if you've seen the trade paperback lately, his name is actually bigger than the word X-Men.
Well, that's about the size of it.
Yeah.
Really?
I probably don't want to do that in the Justice League movie, but that's a different subject.
Now, my feeling was that this is a great book, but is it a good first X-Men book?
I don't think so.
You know, the biggest problem I think you're going to have with a lot of these stories, and this is something I've mirrored when I'm talking about picking up a random book like Maximum Security and reading it, is not knowing where in the Marvel continuity it fits and how does it relate to what's going on currently. How can you get someone from reading Astonishing X-Men to go, okay, we'll pick up the X-Men book? And I agree, it was a fun run, and you know, more importantly, you can actually read it, not wait months after months after months like we had to. But is it going to make any sense to someone who's going to go from this book to come in the next week and go, hey, I like that. What other X-Men do you have that I could read? Because a lot of things that happen in it, and I don't know how many issues does it cover? I mean, does it cover the
first
whole
6?
Okay. Again, Cyclops is dead. Wolverine's not there. Emma Frost is a bad guy now.
No. It's farther back than that. Or are you saying comparatively?
What's going on now? Because back then,
yeah,
Cyclops was alive. Jean Grey was dead. You know, again, it's like, where do you jump in on 50 years of, oh, my children, and in order to just say, hey, well, here's a, you know, I don't want to. I've been stealing the thunder from Dan, but I've got friends at work who are real big into comic books, and I got to look at, like, I'm looking at my bookshelf now. I say, what can I possibly give them that they could understand? Because they think of it in terms of what they see in the Marvel universe, on the cinema universe. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. How it relates to comics. Because, like, when I told them, I said, okay, I'll let you read Infinity Gauntlet. I thought it was Infinity War. Okay. No. So just, you're going to see things that are similar, but you're going to see things that are different. So, again, I think as a standalone story, it's probably not bad. But I don't know how I think you'd probably get more weight out of, like, a True Believer or you know, those dollar comics than you would this. But I mean, how would you describe this? Have you read this, Dan?
Yes, I have, actually.
Do you think this would be a good introduction for someone? Like, if you had a friend or niece, nephew, stranger on the street that wonders why you got a hairy hand, you know,
no, actually, no, I wouldn't. Because I liked it, but the thing is, part of what I liked about it was the interplay between the characters that were usually jokes about things that had occurred in the past.
Yep, I agree with that.
So if you're jumping on, you're going to miss a bunch of stuff and be more confused than anything else. And the big thing, the big payoff, I'm trying to remember if it's within the first 6. I think it's, unfortunately, just after the first 6. Is all about, you know, a character coming back that's been dead for a while, and if you didn't know that, who cares?
It is part of this story, and then they explain it in the next one.
Okay, yeah. So
again, the other topper, and I don't know if you know the information, Cory. What's the price point on this?
I don't know the price point. I do know that they are, over the next year, basically they're saying, these are the ones, we're going to keep these in print, and they will have special branding. The first one is the Captain Marvel book that just came out is going to be part of it. So I don't know. I imagine the price point on all of these is going to be different because some of them, like this, are only 6 issues, whereas some of the ones that we talk about later on are like 20 to 22 issues.
I don't know. I don't think Marvel would ever take a lesson from Image, but I do suggest they do what Image has done with some of their long stamp. Make that first story arc just $9.99 because that's a palatable price point. The Captain Marvel one, again, the movie's like right on our doorstep. What do you know what's in that?
Yeah, it's the recent miniseries.
Now, see, that's a good idea,
right? Because
that's a standalone story. It's not so bogged down in continuity that, I mean, when I tried, I think, Cory, you saw the meme or somebody made a brilliant comic book parody cover of Captain Marvel, where the Shazam Captain Marvel is the classic spaceship where we've seen it, Superman discovers Supergirl, but it's Captain Marvel, Shazam discovering all the Marvel Captain Marvels popping out of it going, no, we're the new Marvel family. Oh, by the way, that name's trademarked now. So, and of course, Cory's like, what about Split? So, I mean, you should see when I'm trying to describe to people, and again, we think of our buddy Dags from the Amish Baby Machine podcast. He is aware of Ms. Marvel, but he doesn't quite understand how did she become Captain Marvel. And but I think all in all, ignoring all that crap, that's actually a brilliant one for Marvel to push first. And if they can get that sucker in everybody's hands before the movie, that's a brilliant opportunity. Again, for Dan, would that be something you'd be interested in?
Well, the thing is, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, not for the funny thing is you're going into something that I was gonna talk about for a lot of these, is that I think it's a cool idea, but if you're trying to get a bunch of new readers, actually releasing the ones that are close or a lot like or are the basis of some of the movies, I think is a really bad idea. Because, like, for instance, I don't know what the story is, how the story is going to be comparative to the movie, the Captain Marvel movie in this miniseries. But for instance, if I were to try to read Civil War, which I know is on the list as well, and I went to see the movie Civil War, and when I really, really liked that, so let's go and check this out. It's a totally different story, and we have people nowadays that compare the novels, like, for instance, the Harry Potter novels to the Harry Potter movies, which are actually fairly close together, but still complain about the differences. So if you have an entirely different story compared to the movie, and you're trying to get them on board, people who watch the movie on board, and the story is so different, they're just going to be bitching about it and not want to continue.
That's actually an excellent point, and I kind of alluded to it before when I was trying to help some friends, and this was true life at one of the cons. He wanted the Infinity War graphic novel, and I was explaining, no, you want the Infinity Gauntlet, because it's the first one, and that's the one they base the movie somewhat off of. Don't confuse the two. And so that actually, it works, but then again, this is where the comic shop owner, hopefully. And just a quick sidebar, Cory, are these books mass market or just comic book? I mean, are we going to see them sitting at Barnes & Noble? Or?
Yep, you'll see them sitting at Barnes & Noble.
Okay, so then that's
and
their problem.
Everything is mass market now because anything that Diamond releases is on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. So this would be something that, people will understand to the point where you could say, well, you know how Christian Bale was Batman? But then Ben Affleck was, and if you're really old farts like us, it's a different take on the character. So again, you could explain it like that and sell X-Men, or not X-Men, but Captain Marvel to somebody, or same thing in the case of Infinity Gauntlet. This is what they base the movie on. It's different. So for a comic store, you might have a better chance of a one-on-one. If you just wandered into a Barnes & Noble, you're going to have to just, they'll recognize it by name rather than any type of, sales. And again, I'm not dissing on Barnes & Noble people, but I can't envision anybody in Barnes & Noble being intimate with every single book they have there.
Oh, good God, I hope not. This page is stick together.
This actually kind of reminds me, I'm thinking of back in the 70s. Remember on like Spidey Superstores, as seen on Electric Company, or every time Hulk was in Defenders, now in his brand new own TV show, just kind of blurbing that type of stuff. So I can imagine the life of Captain Marvel would be, now a major Marvel motion picture, which isn't a bad idea.
The last note I have for Astonishing X-Men #1 is, while I think it's a decent book, I think a better introduction to the X-Men would be the Phoenix Saga. Because They've made that into a cartoon. They made it into a movie. They're about to make it into another movie. It kind of sets the template for who the X-Men are and gives a good idea of all their villains except for Magneto.
I'm kind of curious, and Dan, maybe you can answer this. Have you ever picked up a graphic novel and then you see there's always an introduction in the beginning? Do you ever read those, or do you just skip over and get into the graphic novel?
Oh, I always skip over it.
See, because that's where you'd probably want to explain to the casual reader, you know, this is the book that was based on this and blah, 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 and, you know, maybe give it a little intro. I love it, of course, because I love any historical stuff that they can give us on it. But that may be where, or maybe make it a more easy introduction, you know, instead of, I don't know, like the historical documents like Cory and I love to read.
Yeah, but in all honesty, you know, for instance, most casual readers probably just always skip over that because, I mean, in all honesty, it's one of the things that I definitely lack that you guys have is all that background knowledge, because the only thing that interests me is the story itself. The story and the art. Yeah, I know.
Heretic. Monster.
Yep.
Next book on the list.
Damn straight.
There's my boy. How you doing, Wolf? Give me some felt.
Oh, here you go. Oh, yeah. Would you like some felt on the inside there?
Later.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
The next book on the list, Black Panther. Who is the Black Panther? This is the first story arc from the Ta-Nehisi Coates run, drawn by Brian Steelfreeze. And I think this is a great choice because it's, okay, here's how Black Panther's going to be shown. It gives kind of an updated version of the origin, and the author is somebody who's been on the New York Times bestseller list more often than I've had pizza in the last week.
How often have you had pizza in the last week?
Pretty much every night.
Oh, okay.
Twice for me. If we called it pie, Cory'd be like the old Snoopy comic strip. Morning, evening, night.
Yeah.
3 times a day, nothing but pizza.
What do you guys think of this one? This one a good choice?
I was going to point this one out because there was, not only are we like, you know, we're recording this a day after the Oscars came out. And I got to tell you, you know, other than the fact we weren't nominated for nothing, but, you know, they're making hay out of that. Black Panther won in categories. And of course, the one that they should have ready to go, Cory calls it, you know, Adventures of Spider-Gwen. We call it Spider-Verse, the animated Oscar.
That's available digitally now and on DVD in March.
Yeah.
Because that's how they do it now. It's okay digitally, and then a month later they put it out on DVD.
But those are two right there, along with the Spider-Verse and the Black Panther. That should be ready to rock now and be shipped into stores, because you're going to get a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but a few people come wandering in and see, you know, Black Panther. What's that all about? They should actually you should make a display of that. And did we have some True Believers that came out with Black Panther in it?
Yep.
There you go. I mean, I can see it right now in a Barnes and Noble. There's no reason why a comic store couldn't set that up right up front. You know, Black Panther. There might be some toys. I don't know. There's got to be a Marvel Select toy of Black Panther somewhere, even if you're not buying the mass market ones. Just a big display of Black Panther ready to go. So when somebody comes walking in, they see it. The book is there. It's fabulous. You got other graphic novels you can put together. You got the $1 books. So that's a brilliant choice, and I agree with you, Cory. I've actually had people asking me, you know, what's a good Black Panther book to start with? And Cory sent me a whole list of them. And but let's ask our non-comic reader, the heretic in the house. Is that enough to get you excited?
Why do you keep calling me a non-comic reader? I read comics all the time.
You're not addicted to comics. You're not like Chris Evans helping Betty White to the stage type guy, where Cory and I are like that. You know, you're more, you'd be tripping her. You know, that's how we view you.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but that has nothing to do with my comics. That's just because I'm an asshole.
That might have that thing going, but we can't talk about it because of the court order.
Yeah,
Well,
you better not call yourself an asshole, because we had one of those on the show for a while. And
well, that's true. I'm a likable asshole.
there you go. There you go.
Actually, the funny thing is, you talk about Betty White. I'm actually really debating on trying to send her a letter to see if she'll run as Wolfie's vice president. Anyway, what was it? The Black Panther. What is that? What we were talking about? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah. By the way, I also want to say I was once addicted to comics. I actually am somewhat on the wagon. I'm more controlled. I haven't stopped. I'm just more controlled.
12-step program for rediscovering your addiction to comics.
Yeah, one it takes having two jobs like Cory in order to afford it. Black Panther. Unfortunately, this one I haven't read, so I'm not entirely sure what the story is. But you said it was an origin story, right?
It has the origin in it, but it's basically what's going on in Wakanda after Civil War, after the Secret War. Basically, T'Challa has to become king again.
Okay, is this when he is like the king of the dead?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that'd probably be a good jumping on point for new Black Panther fans, because that way it may not, like you said, it may show some of the origin story, but it also gives you a new story where he's probably having to deal with all the people that you're going to need to know in the future, as he regains his kingship. Though the whole King of the Dead may confuse people.
The next book on the list is Captain America Winter Soldier Ultimate Collection. This reprints the story about Cap finding out that Bucky is still alive.
Bucky's still alive?
Yeah.
Oh.
I need a drink. What? How do they?
That's how I could say he wasn't even sick.
How do they market this one? What's on the cover? I mean, is it Ultimate Soldier, or does it tie into Cap somehow?
It's Captain America Winter Soldier Ultimate Collection. It was the story that Ed Brubaker did right before Civil War.
Yeah.
Where we find out Bucky's alive. He's been used by the Russians. He interfered in the 2016 election. He's got a bionic arm.
Explored. He bought Broderbund and Tactic. Yeah, he built his own Elven City. I'm sorry, I'm just reading ads that are popping up on Facebook. Anyways, that one could be a good one. Again, I'm going off a theory, and this is probably what's coloring my comments. If it ties somehow into the universe, the cinematic universe, and they can relate, I think that's a good choice. If it's buried too far back, although you and I might be excited about it, and again, I temper this because the Dark Phoenix one works, because back then there wasn't 5 billion books of X-Men where one would contradict the other or change things so quickly. It's just it was almost like X-Men was its own standalone universe. So yeah, this one I think has a good one. And when I first heard you, I didn't hear you say Captain America, and that's kind of the key one. How about for you, Dan? Would this be something to pique your interest?
Now, this one wasn't this one actually not like completely accurate, obviously, to the movie. But the thing is, a lot of what they did for the movie was based off of this one, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff from this comic in the movie.
Right, to the point, I mean, where it's more faithful than most of the others. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So this one might not be a bad one for people who are actually going back and forth. But again, it's that whole, you're going to have a lot of people that are pissy for small differences. But I think this one might not be a bad one. And this one also was, I know was fairly well written. Who'd you say did it again?
It's Ed Brubaker, and I believe most of it's drawn by Jackson Geiss.
Okay. So that's a decent one to start off with. Again, though, it's a while back, so it's not really going to connect as well into the current stuff. And that's a big problem with a lot of them on the list. Actually, is that so many of them are so farther back that it doesn't really connect to what's going on now. In fact, is Bucky even around anymore?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're never getting rid of the Winter Soldier.
He got better.
Miniseries.
He got better.
The book that I think this is a good choice. Another book that I would add, and once I mention the creative team, Joe will know what I'm talking about. It's a trade paperback called War and Remembrance, and it's a very short run by Roger Stern and John Byrne from about 79 and 80. And it was just a real short run, but it was an excellent introduction to Captain America. It also had Captain America 250, where Captain America ran for president.
Yes.
Which is a far better story than it sounds.
I would hope so.
And then kind of a Invaders reunion where they fought, what was it, Baron Blood. That was really good. And that's more 80s slam bang superhero, fight scenes where everybody's talking through the fight scene stuff. But I think that would be a good book as well. The next one Marvel has listed is Civil War.
And I already mentioned my ideas on that. So. Yeah.
My opinion is that this is the best way to be introduced to the current Marvel universe.
Yeah, it's a good standalone, I think, because it's not tremendously big, and granted, us comic guys, we get it did all these different crossovers, blah blah blah, but just keep the standalone story, the main event. I think that's a good one.
And we have Dan's opinion.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I just love the weight of it.
All right, you know all about that, right, Wolfie?
Oh yeah. I could put that thing on my chest, and it's like breath play.
Oh, God. Oh, don't worry. You could use some omnibuses for that.
Oh, yeah. Especially Cory's big man thing, giant man thing.
With a gob on it.
Yeah.
Now, for Deadpool, they have Deadpool Classic Volume 1.
Which one is that?
This reprints the appearances in X-Force, New Mutants, and the Deadpool miniseries written by Mark Waid. And I don't know if you've read my notes, but my notes are no. No, 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 no. This is before Deadpool started breaking the fourth wall and was really funny. I would go, actually, with Deadpool Classic number 2, which is the start of the Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness run.
And that's where the fourth wall stuff started.
Yes.
Which is his entire, what people look for now.
Yeah.
And especially from the movies.
And it's also got the greatest Deadpool story of all time in Deadpool number 11.
Which was?
He gets transported back into a 60s Spider-Man comic.
Oh, yes.
Nothing will ever top that, ever.
I don't know. I like the ones that he was transported back into his own comics.
Yeah, but it's not as funny as him making fun of Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn's hair.
Okay.
Talking about how Gwen is such a bitch. And what was it? Who was the old blind woman who was with him at the time?
Blindell.
Yeah, she gets substituted for Aunt May.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you read the Liefeld and the Wade miniseries, you'll go, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of generic. Joe, any feedback on that one?
I think you're, like you said, the first one probably not so much. Second one definitely, because that's who we think Deadpool is.
For Doctor Strange, they have Doctor Strange: The Oath, which was the Brian K. Vaughan miniseries they did in the early 2000s. It's a good rework of the origin. It didn't blow me away. And
that's the one where he has the skiing accident, right?
Yes. And I'm sentimental. I think just put out the Epic collection of the Ditko stuff. Yeah, it's dated, but people will still read it and go, oh, wow, this is cool.
I'm trying to remember, what was the name of the Straczynski one that they were trying to do as a remake?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember the name of that one. I'd have to look it up.
That one may work, too. I mean, that one, I think he gets whacked out in a car accident, which ties into his story. So the Oath and that, the Ditko one, yeah, if you're going to do it for $10, yeah. I wonder, though, if people, I mean, I love Ditko stuff, but I wonder if the art's just too weird for people these days. Yeah, it's sad but true. Plus, they might get upset with, the ancient one. I mean, good Lord, look what happened when Tilia was the ancient one. People lost their collective gourd.
It was called A New Beginning.
Yeah, that one, too, may also work. So I think either one of those would be good. The Ditko one, I'm kind of on the fence on. Although I certainly, $10, give it a shot. You never know. Somebody might find it interesting.
I actually started to read The Oath, and I couldn't read it. I didn't like it.
No, sir. Didn't like it.
No, sir. Nope. So
now the next one on Cory's list is Planet Terry. No, I'm just sorry.
Planet Terry and Top Dog.
Yes, but they couldn't republish the Heathcliff crossover, so that's going to be a hole in that.
Oh, well, then it's not even worth it.
Okay, forget that one. Cory, what's next on the list? Unless anybody's got anything else to say about Doctor Strange.
They're wrong.
They're wrong. Just wrong.
Yeah.
Just wrong.
They're just wrong.
The next one on the list is Fantastic Four Epic Collection, The Coming of Galactus. Now, this is the only one that has Silver Age Marvel. I think this is a great choice. The real early issues, we're doing them on Fantastic Forecast. They're too crude for a modern audience. Modern audience just would not get into it. But by this point, Kirby was being inked by Joe Sinnott, so the stuff looks really good. Stan Lee was at his peak, and it's just, here's the Inhumans. Now here's Galactus. Now here's this. Now here's this. Boom, 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 boom. They just keep throwing new stuff and cool ideas at you all the time.
Cory, can you go boom, boom, boom again, but a little slower?
No, you can take the recording
after the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you, because that was what, 3 issues?
Well, this is an Epic collection, so it's about 20 to 25 issues.
So what? Is that the one where they're including also all the different Galactus appearances?
No, this is the Epic collection. Is the color volumes that are taking the place of the Essentials.
Okay, for this program, I would say no, because you're talking $40 freaking dollars.
Yeah.
There is no way you're going to get somebody, oh, look, Fantastic Four. Wasn't that crappy Corman movie? No, it was that weird one that Alba was in. No, it was, no, not $40. Take what you said.
That Alba was in? Oh, Alba.
Alba. It's bad either way. I would take what you said, the first Galactus story. And, again, as soon as they got rid of Galactus, they started off into another. But cut the story, he's gone. And then add the John Byrne 3-parter. And that's your story right there. You got the origin and the John Byrne one when he was doing his reign. And because that, not only that, but that has the Avengers in it, has Spider-Man, makes an appearance, Daredevil. So that, I think, put those 2 in a book for $10, $15. I think you got something there more than, hey, spend, you interested in Fantastic Four? You got $40? Yeah, me? Oh, hell yeah. But a casual person on the street, I mean, let's ask Dan. Dan, you got $40? Would you plop down $40 for this epic collection?
Nope. Were you expecting more? I don't know.
No, not really. Season, I don't have that type of cash on me.
Exactly. No, there isn't a single transformer in it.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Besides, we could always repopulate. We could redo New Avengers Transformers. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Now we're talking our language.
Yeah. And that's not even $40.
No.
For the Hulk, they have Planet Hulk, which is where Hulk gets sent to a planet where he becomes Gladiator.
He becomes Gladiator?
Happy Roman. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, does he get the mohawk?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not the strongest guy on the planet either, so that's what makes it kind of fun. I think that one could work as a standalone. Again, it smacks of you're gonna go from that to the Immortal Hulk, and this is not the same Hulk. What's up with that? But as a standalone, it'll work, and again, it has a tie-in a little bit to the movies. I don't know. I'm not super excited about the run itself, but it could work for a casual, a new person to come in. I don't know, Dan. What do you think?
Sure.
I'm trying to think if there's a better Hulk graphic novel to introduce people to the character, and there really isn't.
Not really.
Because everybody, once they got rid of the big green guy, once misunderstood, runs around beating up thing, leave me alone. Once they decided that, okay, you got a new take on the Hulk, everybody comes in has a different take on the Hulk. I'm trying to think of some, like, even when Byrne took over from Alpha Flight, Hulk was brainless. He had the Hulkbusters going. And then Peter David came in with his epic run that, Hulk had his own brain. He was a gray Hulk for a while, whatever.
And that was a fantastic run, but it does not lend itself to trade paperbacks.
No.
At all.
Silvestri came in. He did a run. Was he the guy or was it Wade? Hulk Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That was Mark Waid.
Okay. So again, Silvestri had a different run. Wade had a one. And now the current one is just creepy as all hell, and I'm loving it. But again, this kind of smacks of a story I'm finding a place to drop, and this is almost the perfect place. When I had Hot Comics, the big movie going on at the time was The Mask with Jim Carrey. Comedy, everybody loved it. Moms and dads would come in looking for Mask comics for their kitty. At that time, Dark Horse, The Mask was definitely R-rated. It was gritty. It was violent.
Oh, yeah?
There were several times a parent would come in and I'd see they had it, and I said, "Are you buying this for your kid?" Yeah. I said, "You might want to look at it first. It's not quite the Mask that is in the movie." And usually you open the first page and there's a Mask like pulping some guy's head. Okay, yeah, this ain't it. And, I have a couple moms, so thanks for pointing that out. In a Barnes & Noble situation, well, first of all, they might carry the Mask. I haven't really looked. I think it's been out of print for a while. But
they've got it in their Dark Horse omnibuses now.
Yeah. And again, you're going to, this Hulk book as its own would work, but any other version, people are going to pick up and go, this isn't the Hulk from the Avengers. I don't think anybody has the Hulk from the Avengers going right now, but it's as good as anything. If you're going to, and again, you should probably have something for every Avenger. Again, Black Widow, we did Captain America, Thor, we haven't got the Thor, but anybody, we haven't even done Spider-Man yet, but again, we're still going through the list. So maybe that we'll save that for the end of the show, missions that they should have done that they didn't. But
well, the next one on the list, Iron Man Extremis, which is the story that Warren Ellis did about Iron Man building artificial intelligence to help him control the armor.
Yeah, that always goes over well.
And my problem with this book is that they pretty much jettisoned all of that in the next story.
Yeah. I remember that. Ellis, not Ellis. No. Warren, who wrote that?
It was Warren Ellis.
Oh, it was Ellis. Yeah, it's the same thing. I bought that, and then the next, okay, I'm not buying it after that because I enjoyed what he did, but it was kind of like, yeah, we're not going that way. I mean, I hadn't been so turned off since I heard David Hasselhoff was teasing a Knight Rider revival. And you know me, anything with the word rider in it, I was really into it.
Wait, what?
Other one?
Yeah, but this time David would be back. We could ride the Hasselhoff.
Ooh.
I was watching the SpongeBob movie again.
So I don't think any of us think this is a good one to have as a Marvel Select. What would you choose?
I think it works because you get the little bit of first of all, it's a standalone, and people are used to the idea that Stark's got that thing in his chest that's kind of controlling it. Plus the way he could control his armor in the movie, just kind of snap his finger and pop, 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 pop. So it's plausible. I'm trying to think now, and the first thing come to mind is the Iron Man Doctor Doom go back in time thing. I mean, that's a brilliant standalone story. Everybody knows King Arthur. They might not know who Doctor Doom is, but Iron Man, that might be a good standalone. Again, it smacks of, yeah, this is way long ago, but the art was good. Good story.
I'm not sure what a good Iron Man one would be, in all honesty. Is there a good Iron Man?
Somewhere along the line, there's probably a mini-series we'll think of, because, for a while there in the 90s and 2000s, Marvel just popped out mini-series like crazy. And like we were thinking with the Doctor Strange one that Straczynski did. We just got to think about it, but I can't think of anything.
The one that I suggested, Demon in a Bottle. The first story about his alcoholism.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad one.
Because it's not the arrogant snot-nosed Iron Man that's in the movies. That's more, that's more of a recent thing. But it is more about, okay, he's a corporate entity. He's getting out of munitions. It is 70s, so it's like, okay, there has to be your superhero fight scenes. But in that, I think the alcoholism was treated very seriously and realistically, unlike when Denny O'Neil did it, where, I had a drink and now I'm a gutter bum, and I've lost everything within a month. Yeah, that's not how alcoholism works.
Speaking from experience?
Yeah, because I've known a lot of them.
Oh. That's not the story I was hoping for, but okay.
I worked at a corporation in the early 90s where a couple of the vice presidents, it was really clear that when they came back from lunch, they were hammered. And they were sort of protected and shielded from the consequences of that. Basically, eventually their secretaries would only schedule their meetings during the morning. Any memos or anything that came out after 1 o'clock were just kind of filed away to be reworked the next day, that sort of thing. So in a lot of ways, I read Demon in the Bottle in the 80s when it came out, and then in the 90s, it's like, wow, this is a lot more realistic than I thought.
Well, yeah. I think it should be Iron Man 55, personally.
Well, that one's available as a True Believers.
Oh, okay.
Except Stan Lee hated that story.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a horrible story, in all honesty. But
yeah, it's not good. I mean, I remember hunting that sumbitch down because it was hot, and I should have hung on to it because I could probably buy a new truck with it. Foreshadowing. And I ended up selling it. And, when I read, oh man, First Thanos, this is so cool. Looks like Darkseid, and he disappears.
And doesn't do anything, and it was
a-
not one of Starlin's better art jobs.
No.
Nope.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, believe it or not.
And we haven't even covered Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, not.
Name off
number 10, and then we'll finish this. You want to do the rest next week?
Why not?
Okay.
A rare two-parter where we don't have to cut it in half on purpose.
There we go. Marvel's the remastered edition.
You're going to do a second parter?
Yeah, we'll do it next Monday.
Oh, okay. Am I invited to that too, or am I being shunned?
No, you're invited.
Oh, cool.
Unless there's something good on TV, then I can understand why you'll stand us up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
let's remember, we're all missing Ric Flair's birthday party on Raw for this.
Yes, all missing it. Yeah.
Number 10 is Marvel's the Remastered Edition,
which contains
Marvel's 0 through 4.
Oh, Marvel.
Yes, they've gone back to the original art and rescanned it using better technology, etc., etc. I think this is a must-have.
For you and me. I will, it's an interesting thing because I don't currently have a Marvel's edition in my collection. I'm waiting for the annotated one because they're doing what I love, giving the little details on every single panel. But I have a friend, like I mentioned, who's really getting into the comics, mostly because of the movies. And a couple of the things that I want him to try are, one, Kingdom Come from the DC side. Nice. And I told him, when you look at that, you're going to know Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. You're going to, Captain Marvel, the original ones in it. Don't worry about any of the other characters because that's part of the plot line. That all these other heroes have showed up and the originals have to come back. So I'm real curious to see his reaction to that. And when I finally get a hold of a Marvels, I want him to read that to see if he knows enough for the Marvel universe to care, or if it again is just too advanced for a casual reader. Because you and I think when we looked at it, Cory, there's a scene where he's and I can't what was his name, Phil, the main protagonist. He looks up and he sees Giant Man striding overhead. I mean, for you and me, that's a geek out moment because we're like, oh, that's what it'd be like. But all I can think of is a casual person's going to look at that and go, what the hell is that? Or, yeah, they're the Spider-Man thing they're going to get, but do they understand the whole, Gwen Stacy dying bit? Or, is it too detailed? Can a casual reader read Marvels and enjoy it? Or is it just too fanish? And I don't know if you've ever, has anybody read, I don't know if Dan, if you've read it.
I tried.
Or have you given it to anybody, Cory, to see what they think?
My son read it and he loved it, and he didn't know anything about Golden Age Marvel, didn't know anything about Gwen Stacy dying. But I think the reason this book works so well for people who don't know comics is it's from a regular person's point of view, and it explains what's happening from his point of view. As fans, we get a much bigger picture, but there is a through story about the photographer. I know his first name is Phil. I don't remember his last name. But it's him living in this world full of superheroes. And I think, especially with the Alex Ross art, this is something that somebody who's just kind of interested in Marvel could read and go, oh, this is so cool. Dan, counterpoint?
Well, actually, I'm trying to think if I actually am thinking the same thing. Is this more of the Alex Ross painting stuff, or is this the Alex Ross sketchy kind of look?
No, this is the first painted book he did at Marvel.
Okay.
Where the first one is about what it was like in New York City when the Human Torch and the Submariner fought, and the Submariner had a huge tidal wave hit New York City.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, when I tried to read it, I was not into that type of art at the time.
Okay.
And so it was really hard for me to read it. So this is something I should actually go back and reread, because now I would probably appreciate it. Because I like Kingdom Come, for instance, but when I was younger, trying to read something that I'm even this way now. If I don't like the art, it's really hard for me to read.
Yeah. And that was a very different art style in comics. The few painted comics there had been more artsy, aimed at adults, more experimental stories, and this was more, no, this is just a regular comic book, except all the panels are painted.
Yeah. So I think I missed out on that because of that. But I think I will want to go back and actually reread that.
Well, you know what people should do so that they don't miss out?
Yes.
Listen to our sponsors.
Oh.
That's right. Here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right. You're charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Mohr. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, KRAYZ, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You could get them weekly. You could get them bi-weekly. You could get them monthly. You just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that we'll record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks. And you don't want to miss out on other things like all the other podcasts we do. Dan and I are eventually going to be doing our podcast again soon.
Yes.
And
yes.
I shouldn't shame him by saying that we eventually will be doing our comic strip together because, well, but no, here are the other podcasts in our network. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network has all sorts of podcasts. We've got Scrabbling Across the West with Dave Caffell and his lovely bride, Stephanie. They travel across the country playing musical gigs, and at night they sit down to play Scrabble and talk about their day at scrabbling.solitairerose.com. There's Novelcast over at novels.solitairerose.com, where I take the novels that I've written and turn them into audio podcasts. Currently, we are doing a novel called Do the Job, which is a murder mystery set in the world of 1980s professional wrestling. Then over at badadvice.solitairerose.com, me, Cory Strode, and Wolfie B. Bad, along with Dan Mohr, give bad advice to people who send in questions. That's bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is growing. Be there! And now we get to Joe's favorite part of the show. No, not where he sees more pictures of Dan burying his face in his wife's décolletage.
He's been trying to figure out how to work that word in everyday conversation, so we got to applaud him.
It's Joe. What's going on the eBays?
Lots of stuff. Matter of fact, I just spent the day doing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 50 different collections of stuff that I am selling onto the eBays, and a lot of it's down in the S's, although it kind of wanders around the alphabet a lot. So I mean, you're talking some things like a lot of Star Wars miniseries, some Secret Invasion stuff, some Star Trek miniseries. Some of them surprisingly expensive, but you know me, I go for the cheapest price.
Expensive.
Surprising. Well, remember when I told you when SpongeBob 1 came out that you should probably pick these up?
Oh yeah.
Some of those issues are going for 10 or 20 bucks. So if you were listening to me, but you know my gig, I naturally go for the lowest price on the eBays. So, you know, if I see someone's got one for 12 bucks, well, $11.99. So, or more importantly, Cory, what's more important to you? If you were to look at a book for $9.99 or see a book for $5 plus $4.99 shipping?
Well, you can search on eBay by saying cheapest cost plus shipping.
Which is what I do when I'm trying to price things out. Because I also come to the conclusion that you do better sales. Like if I got something, let's take a look here. Titans did a book called Scarlet Couture, which was kind of a spy type thing. Only 4 issues. So somebody's got theirs for $11.95 plus $5. So we're talking what, $16.95? Well, I put mine on for $14.99 free shipping. So not only am I the lowest price, but people are going to think, oh, free shipping. Because eBay's they kind of push you towards that free shipping stuff. I suppose to keep pace with Amazon and other places offering that. Some people just say, no, I can sell it for $10 plus $5 shipping and be cheaper. Same result. It used to matter at the very beginning of the eBays because they wouldn't take their cut out of the shipping costs, but now every dollar you get as a seller, they take a piece out of the action from you. So does it matter? No. Hey, here's some of the things I've sold the last couple of days. And the first one called The Order, 1 through 6, came out of 2002. Almost kind of an Avenger type thing. It's got Doctor Strange, Hulk, Submariner, Silver Surfer in it. Like Dan said, the art I wasn't really big on, so ended up selling it. Cory, did you ever read The Birth Call by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell?
Why, yes, I did.
Can you tell the folks what it's about?
Not really.
I don't know. I don't.
I will say that Alan Moore performed it.
Ooh.
In Northampton at the local open mic night and other things. Basically, what Eddie Campbell did, he transcribed one of Alan Moore's open mic stories.
Amazing. And you know, the thing with it is that this thing has a price as high as $50. And you guess how much I sold mine for?
$49.99.
Nope.
Oh.
$8.99 free shipping.
Wow.
Because I mean, it goes up, it goes down. Of course, on the plus side, the same guy who bought that, he bought Instant Piano 1 through 4 from Dark Horse. We've talked about that before. Which
was a phenomenal mini-series. Oh, such good stuff.
There was a series from, I can't remember. They're called The Adventures of a Comic-Con Girl, 3-issue miniseries. He bought some Spawn fan editions, fan being the 90s Overstreet magazine, kind of getting in on the heroes, the wizard type thing. And one of the big things they did, they always gave away stuff. Well, they had 3 editions that they gave away. Kind of apropos, because she just won an Oscar. Fame, Lady Gaga, which is one of the Blue Water, what do you call them, unauthorized biographies, things like that. To round out his purchase, he bought Oz Wonderland Chronicles, a Jack and Cat Tales #2 variant cover C, which had a really cute little girl on it. Dan, I sold a Transformer Spotlight with Optimus Prime.
Ooh, the 3D version?
No, this is just the straightforward one.
Oh.
If you're a fan of Loot Crate, you might have picked up the Star Trek Next Generation Mirror Broken, which was a fabulous mirror series where they kind of deal with Picard and his thing. The big thing with this one, it was the origin of Data, who in the mirror universe decided Borg stuff was cool and started adding it to himself. I'm kind of shocked because I thought I had ordered the trade paperback of this. I've never gotten it, but I'll have to go hunting on the eBays for it. And of course, one of Cory's favorite films, Even Hitler Had a Girlfriend. Well, maybe not his favorite, but this was a 1994. This was a 1994 comic. I'm trying to think of who it's from. It's based on the cult film hit. Although, if it's a cult film, is it really a hit? I don't know. But I got tons of other stuff on the eBays. If you see anything you like and you're a good listener of this here show and don't think we don't appreciate it, just drop me a note with your PayPal payment or in the eBay system, or you can send it to me, crazycomics@gmail.com. I always like to add a little something. Like, if I were to reach out and grab something and randomly throw it, I look at this. It's a copy of Worldwide News by Cory !Strode and Dangerous Snitch Mohr.
Snitch?
A little bit of dirt on that. Stitch.
Well, that's good because Dan would have to go to the hospital otherwise because snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
One of the rare autographed ones. And you could either go and try to beg Cory or Dan to give one and autograph it for you, www.worldwidenews.solitairerose.com. Or, you might get it from me from buying something off of eBay's. KRAYZ, as our good buddy Duke Nukem says, come get some.
And Dan.
Yeah?
You can tell us what you're up to in your favorite segment. What's Dan doing?
Ooh, I didn't know I had a segment.
Now. Hey, if you come on the show,
you're gonna pimp
when
something.
I interview people, I say the same thing. When you come on the show, you are to treat me like I'm Johnny Carson, and you are Bob Hope in the 70s with a special coming on in a week. Just look like a madman.
I'd rather be the Robin Williams who doesn't plug anything and just continues to derail the show.
But then
why don't you be like
buy your stuff?
Yeah.
Why don't you be like Paul Rudd and just say the same thing every time you're on the show? He did that on Conan O'Brien. Just showed the same clip.
He shows
clip. Dan doesn't have a clip, but he could just come on and say the same thing. Well, I'm working on this, blah, 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 blah. Maybe after about the fifth time, we'll realize, aren't you still working on that?
That's okay. As anybody who's been listening to the shows that I have been on every once in a while, I have been working on the same thing over and over. And Cory mentioned it 3 or 4 times already today. No, actually, anything new? Let's see. It has been official that for Anime Detour in April. March. It's the last weekend of March, and I believe the first is a Monday, so it's right before April 1st. Thank God. I am actually the master of ceremonies at Anime Detour this year again. So, well, Wolfie is. I'm not, I guess. So
you just have to come along. Wolfie was kind enough to let you in the building. Maybe not on stage with him. I know how you tend to upstage him.
Yeah, well, it's that or I think he just uses me as transportation.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, so
I help in the bathroom.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. I am actually just this would actually be the first place that I say it anywhere outside my own family. That I'm actually starting to work on possible stand-up improv routines, and we'll actually be trying to expand into doing that on a hopefully regular basis eventually. So hopefully that'll go somewhere.
First time he's on stage, we could do a podcast from the audience, and we got.
Oh, there you go.
$1 million idea right there.
There you go. You can watch me fail.
The problem is, when you first start, they only give you 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes in an open mic.
Well,
That's a really short podcast.
I'm sure you could pare that down to a minute.
the funny thing is I already kind of do this at the conventions that I go to that do larger amounts of panels. So I'm not sure. Hopefully it'll be an easy transition, except for the fact that I have to do, the 5-minute bits, which are going to be really tough, which is weird considering I usually do an hour. Because trying to improv with an audience in 5 minutes is a little weird. But we'll find out. Great, they're not even laughing at that. See, I'm already fucking up. I'm already failing. And these are my friends.
Dan,
we thought a quiet
red light is being blinked.
I thought a quiet, respectful silence would be a little bit better. Cory knows that's rare from me.
No, that's fine. Like I said,
that's true. I am the master of no selling.
Yes. In fact, I think I just need you to sit on the stage with me, Cory, and just make faces.
That'd be great. By the way, this is what we call in the profession no sell.
Right. So look at him and see if you should laugh, and most of the time you'll probably just nod no.
Don't give a look.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Hacky.
Yeah. So that's the most recent stuff. I won't say anything else because you're going to do this to me next week, and I don't want to repeat myself.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where
That's
I
a break.
eat a whole bunch of booze-soaked jelly beans.
What beats the Tide Pods you were sucking on last week?
No. I give away Tide Pods, and then I'm kicked out of houses.
Wait. He was sucking on something?
Does.
Back under the table, Wolfie. I'll let you know when you can come up.
Oh, all right.
Now it's Freaking and Geeking Joe. What are you freaking?
What did I do to deserve such disrespect?
Remember the foreshadowing from earlier.
Yes.
I had a craptastic day. First of all, if it's really weird because when you're watching like nightly news and things like that, it's like, oh, the East Coast is getting slammed by a storm, and they're saying upwards of 12 inches of snow, and you see the big blue cover the East Coast, and meanwhile, if you catch out in the corner of the eye, you see Minnesota getting covered with blue, but we never get covered because they're like, oh, well, we're used to it. No, folks, we were not used to the shitstorm that came barreling across southern Minnesota. Even as we speak, roads are closed. They're rescuing people off of lakes, the ice fishermen who drive out because the drifts are so bad they can't drive back. Our friends Dave and Steph Kofel got stranded in Iowa. They actually ran.
Oh, those poor girls. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, on the plus side, they found a hotel, unlike most people. But they were doing a live video, and I happened to be on Facebook watching it. And they were, I think, between Des Moines and Ames, where they ended up. Every quarter mile, a car in the ditch. They end up passing a southbound 20, 30 car pileup. I was just so glad to hear they got off the road. You go to their page, they talk about they were all like down in the lobby, and Dave started playing because he's a folk musician, and people it lightened the mood. People were in a great mood. They got like offers. Hey, if you're stuck here tomorrow, you can come stay at our house. People were like, oh, thank you. I didn't know what we were going to do. It was just to lighten the mood. So it actually worked out okay for them. I think they're okay. I haven't seen if they're trying to drive north. But the roads just suck. Meantime, in the Twin Cities, we got some snow, but we weren't buried. Certainly nothing that we couldn't deal with. So, I'm like, okay, I get my truck. I got my 4-wheel drive. I'm just going to head to work. And I do what I normally do when it's been bad weather is I leave early. But what happened is that the side streets, while they were bad and a lot of snow buildup because they hadn't been plowed yet, the main roads were fine. People were traveling on them. There was enough sun to melt it, so things were wet. So I went down, I got on the freeway, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get to work like in my normal 20 minutes. I'm a whole hour and a half ahead of time. So I figured I'd get off the freeway, take the side streets. Now there's this one place in St. Paul where you're up in the downtown area, and you take this bridge down across the Mississippi. And as I took the turn to go on this bridge, my truck was moving downhill because of momentum, but I had no power. The engine was running. I had no power. And when I got to the bottom of the hill, I was like, okay, I can turn. And the truck, eventually the momentum just stopped. And I'm like moving the gears. And it's like, I got no power. The engine's running. I think I just lost my training. And all of a sudden there's a horrible, horrible grinding noise. And I was in 4-wheel low. 3 settings: normal, 4-wheel, and 4-wheel low, which you usually use if you're like stuck in mud, heavy snow, or pulling a heavy trailer. But I couldn't turn it off. You got that goofy little switch, and it would flash, but the 4-wheel low was engaged, and I couldn't go anywhere. And I wasn't moving. And all of a sudden I lurched, and I was moving. Turns out about a whopping 20 miles an hour, which worked out fine because of the conditions. I limped home. With the idiots on the road, the snowing and the blowing, I probably couldn't have gone any faster. But it could have been worse. I could have been on the freeway. I could have been somewhere remote. But I just didn't know what to do. I called a couple of mechanic friends. They said, well, check your fluids. You might have died. The truck's pushing 20 years old. It's one repair job away from being replaced. I mean, we have whole segments of the show where, Cory, you had to go through that with your cars till you finally bought a new one. And I hate to repeat anything you've ever done, but
but you do.
Well, I put all fluids in it. I couldn't get the oil cap off. I'm down about a quart of oil, but I put all the fluids in: steering, wiper fluid, whatever, transmission fluid. Turns out I was down, still grinding a little, but I'm moving. I'm not sure if I trust it to go anywhere beyond work, or maybe like today when I went and delivered my eBays, the post office was only a couple miles away, so I went there, I came back. Knock on wood, but hopefully that's the last we hear of this. But I think the goal is to get to the end of the year when they start closing out the 2019s in preparation of the new trucks, and maybe that's when I'll be buying a new one. So we'll see what happens. Have you ever heard of ice dams?
Yeah.
Why, yes, I have.
Those of you in tropical areas, it's a weird phenomena that occurs on the side of a house when you have water comes down, hits your gutter, freezes real fast, and it builds up a dam, and then the water behind it just piles up, and eventually it soaks into the roof. It goes into the walls. It can destroy roofs, walls, homes. I've got ice dams on my house, and I really feel stupid because usually you catch them, but the thawing and freezing cycle has been so bad in Minnesota that almost every house has these things on them built up. And while my eaves over my house stick out about 2 feet, I have noticed discolored water on the side of my house. I don't hear anything on the inside. Doesn't mean there's no damage there. So I've got to figure out how to deal with this crap before any more happens. Of course, in the next 3 days, we're getting 3 more snowstorms and then sub-zero. Have I mentioned I have a new hip, and going up creaky ladders and snow-covered lawns and icy roofs isn't necessarily the best way to ensure I'm going to have one hip that will work. I did go out and buy with calcium chloride ice melter. I had to explain to Chris why I was in her pantyhose drawer again. You take the pantyhose, you fill the calcium chloride in it, and then you lay it on the ice dam. You don't want to put your normal rock salt up there because it will destroy your roof. 50-pound bag is like $30. Otherwise, I could pay someone $100 an hour to use hot steam and blow it off. So the only thing that's keeping me safe, cross my fingers, is the fact that it is cold and it's not going to get any warmer, at least not soon. So hopefully I don't get any more water damage up there before I can take care of it. It's just a lot of little shit going on. While I'm busy dealing with these major issues, then I notice, the rear tail light of my truck, the red coating is cracked. I got a shoe rack on the back porch that suddenly broke. Computer's been acting up. I had to call Cory last week and said, this may be it for the computer, but it seems to be working. My cell phone, you heard it beeping in the background. I mean, I've had to been deleting apps because, I love planned obsolescence. It's just my phone's nothing. I should have just kept the goofy little Star Trek phone and go with that. You got hot water leaking in my bathroom, so I had to shut it off. The TV's got some lines in it, which are really weird because they appear when it warms up, and then certain shows, they disappear, and then what really freaked me out but made me sad is when I read that Peter Tork of the Monkees had passed away. I don't know about you guys, but as a kid, I watched Monkees in syndication. I wanted to be a monkey. I mean, it was so cool.
You are.
They were in a band. They had a cool house. Mike got that cool car. They were all funny. Peter suffered a little because, he played the lovable goof, which was totally opposite of his personality, because most of the Monkees would probably agree he was probably the smartest and the most talented. I mean, him and Mike could play their own instruments. I was just sad to hear he passed away. He's 77, but it's just, when you see this, you hear of someone who you like their career. Even when Stan Lee passed away, we were all a little sad about that. So I don't know. Do you guys have any Monkey memories? Did you ever watch the show growing up?
Very little, but not enough to really have a lot of memories from them. I happen to love one of their songs. The "I'm a Believer" is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of their songs, their early stuff, even into their later stuff. I got one of those big, massive sets where they cover almost everything they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And what amazes me is that I've heard a lot of these songs, even though not a lot of them were played on the television show. And I remember that because back in the 70s, who owned the music? Was it Screen Gem? Somebody had one of those, during the Monkey Show, they were advertising a 2-record set of the Monkees with all their songs. And, oh, Mom, I want to buy it. Can I buy it? Well, they found out the girl across the street bought it, and she borrowed it to us, and we were able to put it on cassette tapes.
Pirate.
I know. Wasn't it great? How about you, Cory? Do you have any Monkey memories?
I was not a big fan, but I did listen to Howard Stern talk about it today, and he made a point that I'd never thought of before. And when the show was big, they had big name songwriters working for them. Carole King, Neil Diamond, stuff like that. And then because everybody was saying, they don't play their own instruments, they're not a real band, they wanted to write their own stuff. And once they started writing their own stuff, they started losing the teeny bopper appeal. And then when they came out with the movie Head, which I've seen, and it's weirdly brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Teenagers who were their fans, who were buying all the records and everything, went to the movie and came out early because they just hated it. It was very surreal. It was very psychedelic. It was mostly written by Jack Nicholson. Yes, that Jack Nicholson.
The golfer?
Yeah, go with that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And their want to be considered artists almost completely killed their career until the 80s when MTV started running the show. And by this time they were smart. They were like, oh no, we're not screwing it up this time. You want us to come out and sing Daydream Believer? We're going to come out, we're going to sing Daydream Believer. And they made more money the second time than the first time.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, there's something you've seen, what was that Tom Hanks film, That Thing You Do? Almost mirror images the argument that these guys had where, the Monkees didn't want to do the teeny bopper stuff. They had a contract. We have to do this. And there were certain things where they said they made a compromise where they said, okay, side A will be teeny bopper, side B will be your music. And then when the single came out, it was teeny bopper on both sides. And that led to the infamous thing where Mike Nesmith punched a wall instead of the producer for doing that. And a similar theme was in that movie. And I'm kind of like, this was really, to me, this was like killing the cash cow. Why couldn't you have done both? These guys were so into control, both the Monkey side and I don't remember the producer on the studio side, the one responsible for their success. And you could have had both and kept it going. When Head came out, that wasn't the movie we wanted. You should have given us the monkey movie everybody wanted, and then do the Head movie. But it was just miscalculations. They skyrocketed high, they came down low, and they lasted around. If you ever seen the Rhino records that came out, it's funny because I think Peter Tork left, and then Mike left, and the last album they had, I can't remember the name of it, was just Dave and Mickey, and it was just to complete the contract they had to the albums. In the 80s, they came out with what was it? No, brain's not working either. But they had like three there, and then they just recently had an album called Good Times that came out, which actually I believe has a record for the largest selling Amazon album of all time. So there was something there. But between like Monkeys, Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, and Batman, I mean, I was like a child of syndication growing up in the 70s, because all these shows I just absolutely loved. But so yeah, a little bummed out. I did see the Monkeys once in concert. They were out at Minnesota Fair, opened up with Weird Al. So fun. Oh, there it is. It's called Changes. The last Monkey album before they disappeared until the 80s. So lots of stuff out there, a lot of good times. So that's all I'm freaking on. Oh, before we jump to Cory, Dan, what are you freaking on?
I'm not. I don't have a lot that I'm freaking on. I told Cory and with the whole thing I was talking about earlier, trying to get into a little bit of the stand-up, I had put in for the lottery for the Fringe Festival this year to try to do the show, to do one of the shows, and unfortunately, right before we started recording, I found out I did not, unfortunately, make it. So, so that that's kind of sad for me. I will say, however, did you say we have more storms coming?
Yeah, as we record, by the time the podcast hits, they should be past. We'll be in our freeze. But I mean, we're recording this on a Monday. We're going to get something Tuesday, another one on Thursday, another one Friday. All 1 to 3 inches, just little ones going through.
Great.
Wow, geez, you sound like my wife in bed. I
am your wife in bed half the time. You just don't know
afterwards, that. I thought you were a little hairy. Well, I gotta lick your face next time I see you. And then we get the cold. So
yeah,
it's like winter. Normally the highs around this time is like 30. And let's see, I'll draw up the instant weather cast. Right now we're suffering at a -1. But on the plus side, it feels like -14 with the 7-mile-an-hour breeze. So we got that going for us.
Oh, yay.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Cory, what are you freaking on?
I only have one thing I'm freaking on. Last week, there was a gathering called Comics Pro. And what it is, it's a retailer organization. And it's the second retailer organization. And this is yet another one that Brian Hibbs, who runs a couple of comic shops out in San Francisco, started, and then he got tired of it and left. But it continues. I forget the name of the first one, but this is the second one. So the publishers show up, and there weren't any reporters or anything. This is just for comic retailers.
Mm-hmm.
And these comic retailers got stories wrong all over the place. So for like 3-4 days on all of the comic book websites that are worth reading, they would have, a shocking story out of Comics Pro, and you'd find out a day or two later that it was bullshit.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So, and then there's another comics news website that I won't mention that's connected with a group of comic fans who don't like women and people of color that I also won't mention, who has been spending the last month talking about how, well, this is the end of comics, and Captain Marvel, all indicators are that movie is going to suck. and on and on. And now it's considered a news website. And there were a couple of people on Facebook who would link to it. And I would just say, by the way, you should look and see who's behind it and their track record. Oh, wow. Huh. Yeah, quit linking to them. It's like linking to the National Enquirer for political news.
Oh, Jesus.
So, comics news is already terrible. Please stop making it worse.
Yeah.
But I saw that on Bleeding Cool, I think, about the Walmart books.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting, he reported it as a rumor. And people are yelling at him like, oh, you said it was true. No, I said it was a rumor.
Yeah, there are other sites that had quotes from comic professionals going on, see, this is why DC is going to fail. Yeah. This is why DC... And these are comic professionals who should either know better or shut the hell up.
Yeah. I mean, if it's one thing when, Cory, you and I ponticate on our podcast because we're just saying, hey, we're fans. This is our opinions. But we got no inside knowledge.
Well, we get some inside knowledge from time to time, and we always say where it's from. Yeah. Like last week, Tom Brevoort told me via Twitter, yeah, the Max line and the Icon line, there aren't anything in the pipeline, there probably won't be.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, this is where I got it.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to let's pull out of this tailspin. Geeking. Joe, what are you geeking on?
I want a Gru Omnibus. Dan, what are you geeking on?
That's what you're geeking on?
I seriously, I had so much shit going on. I haven't read anything. I haven't seen anything. If there's anything happened good between last podcast and now, it's totally gone. So,
gotcha.
I did watch the Orville though. That was, I'm on a Facebook page called Star Trek Shitposting, which is pretty much what it is. It's just shitposting. And I'm being known as the Orville guy because every time somebody mentions something like, I wonder what Captain Kirk would have done. He said, well, Ed Mercer would have done this. Just what's a better program? I just finished watching Star Trek Next Generation. What should I watch next? The Orville. Any comment is the Orville. So good enough for me.
All right then.
What are you geeking?
Well, even though we've had these storms going through, I'm geeking on the fact that I finally was able to afford to get a snowblower. So, that's a big thing in my life.
By the way, we've been meaning to talk to you about those snowmen you're building in your front yard.
No, that's Wolfie.
Kids are beginning to... No. I saw you were out there. You didn't have anybody on your hand. Cheating on him.
Yeah, well, I do that once in a while. Hey, wait a minute. I thought you said you were building those for me. Shut up. What was I? Oh, yes.
Oh, you're just about to tell us how Jory Lawrence is going to play Batman.
Who?
Never mind.
Okay. The other thing is that I also was able to pick up a 3D printer, a resin 3D printer. And so I'm really geeking on that because I should be able to do models now with some more detail, and I'm looking forward to doing some Wolfie models. So,
oh, Lord.
Yeah. Got a merchandise. So that's cool. I'm really enjoying that, and I think it's going to be really cool to work with because I've been working with a different 3D printer. It just doesn't quite do the detail that I'd like. There was something else that I was going to say, and now I forgot what it was. I guess it must not have been that much of a geeking. I have no idea. Cory, what are you geeking on?
First, I've talked about on the DC Universe streaming service that the Titans, I have trouble watching it because it's so goddamn dark you can't see anything on the goddamn screen.
Mm-hmm.
Even Timothy Dalton, you can't see him. He's going to be leader of the Doom Patrol. He's chief.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Doom Patrol started last week.
Yeah.
Oh, man, is it good?
Is it?
It is so good. First
How
off,
good is it?
you can fucking see everything.
Good.
Which for Cory is a big deal.
It captures the idea of the Doom Patrol. These are tragic characters. James Bond is Chief. Brendan Fraser is Robot Man. And, Brendan Fraser's only in a small part of the movie. The rest of it, he's just the voice and everything. But their first villain, Mr. Nobody.
Yeah, by Alan Tudyk, isn't it?
Alan Tudyk. Yes.
Tudyk, yep.
So good. And you would think with a smaller streaming service like DCU that they wouldn't have big money to spend. This thing looked really good. The special effects were good. The characters were done well. Elastic Girl didn't make a lot of sense to me the way they did her, so I'm hoping that that cleans up. But they've got one of my favorite Grant Morrison characters in the show, Crazy Jane, who has 64 separate personalities, and each one has her own superpower. First episode just blew me away at how good it was. I'm very excited about it.
But do they have the redhead Rachel who has a big eye where her chest used to be and is naked all the time and decided to fly off to see a nearby star, which was like, 40 light years away?
Not yet.
Oh, I hope so.
Cory?
Yeah.
Why is it that I am not surprised your favorite character is a crazy woman?
Comic-wise, I didn't get to read a lot because I was working all the time, but I did read one of the Marvel, the special 80th anniversary where they did one issue, because they did Slappy Seal and Petey Pig and Crypto Shadows, which I read, which was mediocre. But I read War is Hell by Howard Chaykin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, was that good? First off, Chaykin's art is always phenomenal, but this was a great war story. And the thing is, Chaykin's done a lot of comics, but he's never done a strict war story. This is a war story set in the 40s. Excellent stuff. And then in the back, it talks about the different war comics that Marvel, Timely, and Atlas have done through the years. And just an excellent one-shot. I really enjoyed it. And then the last thing I am geeking on, Joe, what was the story that Rich Johnson is getting shit for?
Is that the Walmart books?
Yes.
He's saying that rumor was that they were being cut because I don't know why he said they just weren't selling.
And the opposite is true.
Yeah, I mean, there's
our last podcast
results where like comic stores are, what do you call it, gaslight? I don't know. They're buying everything from Walmart, bringing them back to their shops and pumping them up $1 or something.
But also, in our last episode, we talked about how DC was really impressed that they're getting much fewer returns than they thought. Well, it's such a success, and the DC 100-pager at Target was such a success that they're changing the format and will have more books. There will be now 48 pages of new material. They will still have the reprints in the back, and they will now be available in more than just Walmarts. So I guess the reason they had to package it the way they did was for the Walmart exclusivity. Walmart wouldn't take the books unless they were exclusive. Well, now they're selling well enough that Walmart has allowed them to sell the books elsewhere. So I don't know if it's with the end of the contract. They haven't given a timeline. But Dan DiDio has said not only are they a huge success, but now they're going to be available everywhere. Diamond's going to have them. They're changing the format, so there's going to be 48 pages of new material. And it also ties into the stuff we talked about last week where it's, DC's got these thousands and thousands of pages of comics that not many people have seen. Why not repackage them? So I'm excited over the fact that these 100-pagers are not only doing well, they're doing well enough to expand. Because I really like the package. I really enjoy these books. And I like the fact that in most of them, it's like, okay, here's a Jim Lee Batman story. And now here's a story you probably haven't read because it didn't sell all that well, but we think it's cool.
Nice.
So that's what I'm geeking on. Believe it or not, kids, I kept Joe to his schedule this time.
Although you got to admit, I had more freaking. I'm usually not a freaking guy, but
yeah.
I guess it's just time for maybe Sagittarius or Saturn's moving over into my house or something. I'm gonna have to go destroy a few planets later.
But we have been talking about comics for an hour and a half. And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Well, before we get to the music, I wanted to tell you this story. There's this woman who loves purple, like fucking loves it. Purple doors, purple curtains, purple panties, purple soaps, purple everything. She drives a purple car. You can ask her. No, don't be playing me off. Don't play me off. No, your favorite movies are purple people. Don't play me off. Don't.
Somebody call my mama. Somebody call my mama. Somebody call my mama. What you say? Somebody please call my mama. Somebody call my mama. Somebody call my mama. Say somebody call my mama. Kick me. Somebody please call my mama. What you say now? What you got? What you got for me?
We done, bitches!